Now, for finding the asymptotes, we have the vertical and horizontal asymptotes. But let us first discuss how to find the vertical asymptote. Now, in finding the vertical asymptote, the only thing that we need is to find its illegal value for x. Okay? Anything that would make x be illegal is our vertical asymptote. Okay? So, paano ba siya nagiging illegal? We know that if we have a fraction in getting a domain, we don't want to have an undefined value. Now, how can we tell that we have an undefined value if we have 0 in our denominator? Okay? So, for example, we have 5x squared over 3 plus x. Now, on that case, sa 5x squared over 3 plus x, okay, that is equal to r of x for it to be a rational function. We know that we have a certain value for x that would make that whole function be undefined. So, if our x is negative 3, our denominator would be equal to 0. And that would make our function be undefined. So, paano ba natin sinosolve yun? Let's just look at the denominator without simplifying the whole function. Let us look at the denominator. For example, we have 3 plus x. All we need to do is to equate it at 0. O saan nanggaling si 3 plus x? It came from the denominator. Since masasabi lang natin na ang function or an equation is undefined if it has 0 on the denominator. So, kahit ano pa yung value niya sa numerator, basta ang denominator niya ay 0, it is considered as undefined equation or function. Okay? Now, since yung denominator lang naman yung ina-avoid natin, let's just focus on it. So, that is 3 plus x. All we need to do is to equate it to 0 for us to know when it will be equal to 0. Okay, so if we have 3 plus x equal to 0, we just need to use the addition property of equality, wherein we add negative 3 on both sides, or simply, we all know that we are just transposing 3 to the other side to solve for x. So, ang gagawin lang natin is to solve for x. So, if we transpose 3 to the other side, that would make it x is equal to negative 3. That is why our denominator would be equal to 0 if our x is equal to negative 3. Okay? That would make our function be undefined. Now, let's focus on this given. The r of x is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 5 divided by x squared minus 3x minus 4. Now, on this case, again, since we want to know when that denominator be equal to 0, all we need to do is to set the bottom be equal to 0, or set the denominator be equal to 0. So, let's copy the denominator. That is x squared minus 3x minus 4 and equate it to 0 for us to know kung kailan ba siya magiging equal sa 0. Now, on this case, we have a quadratic trinomial. Paano siya nasabi na quadratic trinomial? It is because the exponent of our variable, or the highest exponent of our variable, is 2. So, on that case, it is quadratic. Therefore, it has 2 roots, which means it has 2 values of x, wherein magkakaroon din tayo ng 2 illegal values or 2 asymptotes. Okay? If we have that trinomial, all we need to do is to factor it. Now, we know in factoring trinomial, we just need to focus on the third term, which is negative 4. We will look at the factors of negative 4 that can give us a sum of the middle coefficient, which is negative 3. Now, what are the factors of negative 4 that will give us a sum of the coefficient of middle term? Which means, what are the factors of negative 4 that will give us negative 3 when we add it? Okay? Since that is negative, the sign of the two factors must be different. Since that is negative, the signs must be different. Okay? So, ano ba yung mga factors niya na possible mag-equal sa negative 3 yung sum? So, we have 4, 1, and 2, 2. Yun lang naman yung dalawang factors niya. And of course, ayun lang pala, 4, 1, and 2, 2. Okay? Now, si 4, 1, mas malapit siya magkaroon ng sum na negative 3. Because if we have 2, 2, we can only have 4. And if we subtract it, we can only have 0. So, kapag 4, 1, we can have 5. And if we subtract those two numbers, we can have 3. Now, since negative din yung number natin, we will set the negative value or the negative sign to the higher value, which is negative 4. So, yung isa, positive 1 na siya. And, of course, since that is x squared, that is x and x. Therefore, the factors of that quadratic trinomial is x minus 4 and x plus 1. Okay? So, let's equate it to 0. Therefore, magkakaroon tayo ng dalawang values of 0, which will give us x minus 4 is equal to 0. And transpose negative 4 to the other side, that would give us x is equal to 4. And on this one, x plus 1 is equal to 0. Transpose 1 to the other side. And mababago yung sign niya, of course, that is x is equal to negative 1. Therefore, ang vertical asymptote natin on that function, that rational function, is at vertical VA na lang. The VA is at x is equal to 4 and x is equal to negative 1. Now, since that is vertical, we know that the vertical line is yung standing line, yung nakatayo. We will locate that in our Cartesian plane. So, where is x is equal to 4? That is on the right side of the Cartesian plane. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is here. And yung isa naman, that is negative 1, that is on the left side, it is located here. So, those two verticals are the vertical asymptote of this function. Okay? That's how you get the vertical asymptote. Again, how to get the vertical asymptote? Just get the illegal value for x. Okay? Or simply, since sanay naman na kayo kumuha ng domain, just get the value of domain and whatever the restriction of x is, that is our vertical asymptote. O bakit nangyari yun? Kasi since we know that it is restricted on that value, edi bawal siyang mag-intersect nor coincide on that vertical line or on that value. Kasi nga, it would make our function be undefined, diba? So, it will only approach but never intersect nor coincide. Okay? It will only approach but never intersect nor coincide. That's the purpose of the asymptote. Okay? Now, to find the vertical asymptote, ganun lang siya. Just find the illegal value for x or what would make our rational function be undefined. What are the values of x that would make our rational function be undefined? Now, let's go and finding the horizontal asymptotes. Now, in this horizontal asymptote, we just have 3 rules. But in this case, let's have the first one. Now, it says here, if the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of the denominator, our horizontal asymptote is at y is equal to 0. Okay? Kanina, x is equal to 4 and x is equal to negative 1 yung na-identify nating vertical asymptote. So, saan siya nakatayo? Because it is on x values. Now, on this case, if the degree of the numerator is less than, so mas mababa yung degree ng denominator, yung degree ng numerator ay mas mababa compared to the degree of the denominator, our horizontal asymptote is at y is equal to 0, which will make it the x-axis. So, saan ba kasi si 1? Ito si 1, this is 2, this is 3. The negative values are on the bottom side. This is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So, nasan si 0? Of course, that is on the middle. And therefore, that is our x-axis. Okay? So, if in the case that the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of the denominator, x-axis yung horizontal asymptote natin. Okay, so let's have this example. Let's see if this rational function has y is equal to 0 as its asymptote. So we have 2x plus 5 over x squared minus 3x plus 4. So on that case, again, let's just focus on the degree. Pero paano ba natin mahanap yung degree? The degree of a certain polynomial function is just the highest exponent of its variable. Okay? Again, the degree of a certain polynomial function is just the highest degree of its variable. So, saan tayo titingin? Just on the variables. Saan ba yung mga variables dyan? The letters. Ano yung letters na nakikita natin? It is just x. So, we only have 1 x on the numerator and 2 x's on the denominator. So, tingin tayo, ano ba yung highest exponent sa numerator, sa variable? Since isa lang yung variable na nakikita natin sa numerator, of course, that is already the variable who has the highest exponent. Kasi wala naman na siyang kasamang iba pang variable. So, on that case, since x lang yung nakalagay dyan, meron tayong invisible exponent on that variable, which is 1. So, the degree of the numerator is just 1. Again, taken separately yan. So, sa numerator muna, the degree is 1. So, that is 1. And since sa denominator, ang highest exponent is 2, therefore, the degree of the denominator is 2. Or, it is on the second degree. Okay? Since the numerator has 1 as its degree and the denominator has 2 as its degree, we can say that the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of the denominator. Again, the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of the denominator. Therefore, x-axis is our horizontal asymptote. Or, simply, y is equal to 0. Okay? So, kapag less than yung degree ng numerator compared to the degree of its denominator, or the degree of the top is less than the degree of the bottom, automatic, y is equal to 0 yung horizontal asymptote natin. Okay? Now, let's proceed on the second one. Now, in this case, it says here, if the degree of the numerator is equal. So, kung kanina less than, ngayon naman, what if it is equal? yung degrees ng numerator and denominator. It says here, then the horizontal asymptote, that HA is horizontal asymptote, is at y is equal to the leading coefficient of top over the leading coefficient of bottom. Now, sino ba yung leading coefficient na yan? Kanina, degree lang yung tinitignan natin. Ngayon, we should also look for its leading coefficient. Okay, so let's identify first or confirm first if this example r of x is equal to 2x squared plus 4x plus 5 over x squared minus 3x plus 4 has an equal degree of numerator and denominator. Now, kung kita kagad siya, di ba? The degree of the numerator is 2 and the degree of the denominator is also 2. Those two are the highest exponent of our variable. Therefore, they are both on the second degree polynomial. So, if that is the case, let's follow this formula. Y is equal to the leading coefficient of top over the leading coefficient of bottom. So, ano ba yung leading coefficient? Actually, when we say leading coefficient, it is from the leading term. When we say from the leading term, it is on the first term. But if ever the case is rumbled, hindi siya nakaayos on its proper form, usually it is beside the variable who has the highest exponent. So kung saan kayo tumingin ng degree, whatever the value or the factor of that variable, yun yung tinatawag nating leading coefficient. Okay, since here sa numerator, focus muna tayo. The highest exponent is 2 and it is on 2x squared. Therefore, ang factor ni x on this term is 2. And that is our leading coefficient. Okay? Dito naman, wala tayong nakikita sa denominator. Pero, it has actually 1 as its coefficient or as its factor. Okay? So, the leading coefficient on top is 2 and the leading coefficient on bottom. So, we can solve the horizontal asymptote at y is equal to 2 over 1, which is equal to just 2. Okay? Again, kapag hinahanap natin yung leading coefficient, all we need to do is to find the variable with the highest exponent. Then whatever the variable, the value beside it or yung factor niya or yung coefficient ng variable with the highest exponent, that is our leading coefficient. If ever rumbled lang ha, kasi that is not always arranged properly. Okay? So, ina-arrange yan properly, decreasing yung exponent nila. So, nauuna palagi, dapat yung highest or yung variable with the highest exponent. Okay, balik tayo dito. The horizontal asymptote is at y is equal to 2. Therefore, it is located at the upper part of our Cartesian plane because that is y is equal to 2. Therefore, it is located here. Okay, kunwari na lang straight line yan. That is the horizontal asymptote. Clear? Okay. So, meron na tayong less than yung degree. Dito naman, equal yung degree. They are both on the second degree. Kaya, meron tayong formula for its horizontal asymptote, which is y is equal to the leading coefficient of top over the leading coefficient of bottom. So, meron na tayong less than, meron na tayong equal. Paano naman if it is greater than? So, let's see. If the degree of the numerator is greater than the degree of the denominator, then there is no horizontal asymptote but an oblique asymptote. So in this case, let's have this example. So that is r of x is equal to x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 all over x squared minus 3x plus 4. Okay. So, in this case, hanapin muna natin yung degree nila. Kasi we are comparing the degree if we are talking about the horizontal asymptote. Let's look first for its degree. Now, what is the degree of the numerator? Let's find the highest exponent, that is 3, and the highest exponent on the denominator, that is 2. Therefore, the numerator is on the third degree polynomial, and the denominator is a second degree polynomial. So, if that is the case, we know that the degree on top is greater than the degree on the bottom. Which means, mas malaki yung degree ng nasa taas compared to nasa baba. Okay? And if that is the case, we don't have a horizontal asymptote. But, it says here, we have an oblique asymptote. Wala tayong horizontal asymptote, but we have an oblique asymptote. Now, paano ba natin sinasolve yung oblique asymptote na yan? All we need to do is to use the long division. Okay? Long division of polynomial. So, since we have, x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 divided by x squared minus 3x plus 4, how can we divide that? Now, yung numerator, this is the long division. Yung numerator, ilalagay natin siya sa loob. That is x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. So, parang nagdi-divide lang tayo dyan ng mga numbers. But in this case, meron na siyang variable. Then, the denominator, yan yung nasa labas. That's x squared minus 3x plus 4. Okay. Let's just focus on the leading term nung nasa labas, which is x squared. That is only the value that we should divide inside. Okay? Then the rest, multiply na lang. So, paano yun? If that is x squared, let's divide it on the first term of our inside. Okay, what is x cubed divided by x squared? That is x cubed divided by x squared. Since x cubed over x squared yan, we just need to subtract the exponents, which is 3 minus 2, which will give us x raised to 1, or simply x. And after that, multiply x on each term of the divisor. So that is x times x squared, which is x cubed, x times negative 3x, which is negative 3x squared, and x times 4, which will give us 4x. Positive 4x. Then, ano ba yung ginagawa natin sa pag-divide? Subtract. So, x cubed minus x cubed, that is 0. So, wag na natin ilagay. 2x squared minus negative 3x squared. So, that would make it positive. Bakit siya naging positive? It is like 2 minus negative 3. So, negative times negative, that is positive. That's why it would be 5x squared. Okay? So, if that is the case, 5x squared, yung huli naman, negative 3x minus 4x, that is, since they are both negative, just add them. Negative 7x. Okay? So, after that, we just need to focus again on the leading term. And so, may leading term, ayan. Then, divide it on the leading term inside. Since na-cancel na natin yung x cube, ang leading term na is the new one, the 5x squared. Don't forget pala, na bring down natin yung naiwan na term, which is positive 5. Okay. So, focus tayo sa leading term. So, 5x squared divided by x squared, we can just cancel x squared. Therefore, the answer is just 5. Okay? So, in here, we just have plus 5. Then again, repeat the process. multiply 5 to each of the term, that is 5 times x squared, which is 5x squared, 5 times negative 3x, that is negative 15x, and 5 times 4, that is 20. Then subtract, which will give us, brahin na natin to, 5x squared minus 5x squared, that is 0. So, wag na natin siyang isulat. Negative 7x minus negative, again, negative of negative na naman. So, magiging plus na yan. So, negative 7 plus 15, that is positive 8x. Then, 5 minus 20, that is negative 15. Now, since we cannot divide anymore the x squared to x, 8x over x squared, it cannot be, mag-i-stop na tayo dyan. Okay? Therefore, ang answer na natin is x plus 5 and the remainder is 8x minus 15. Since oblique asymptote, we are just solving using the long division, ignoring the remainder. So, hindi na natin kailangan yung remainder na to. Because we are ignoring the remainder after solving for the long division of the two polynomials when we are looking for the oblique asymptote. Therefore, in this case, focus lang tayo dun sa sagot without the remainder. Okay? Again, paano siya naging remainder? We cannot divide anymore x squared from 8x. That is why the oblique asymptote is y is equal to x plus 5.